Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing Stalker 2 on APU. Welcome to Respawn PC, I'm Dunk, let's game on. Starting off with the Vega 7, 1080p low settings, FSR balance, we have 15 FPS, no go. Enabling frame generation 3, give a little boost to 23 FPS average, still with FSR balance and 1080p, and the lowest settings is still unplayable. And on top of that, I have 32GB of RAM and I'm using 26.1, and that's with 3600 MHz memory. That's my most performing APU that I have with me, the Ryzen 5 5600G with the RX Vega 7. Even going to drop FSR from balance to performance, we have a little gain from 23 to 26 FPS average. Yes, I'm in the small encampment, the small first village of the place, but if there's that village bother the GPU that much, I mean the APU, that doesn't bode well, unless you decide to just play outside of cities and not encountering anything, which defeat the purpose of playing this game. I mean, you don't want to encounter anything, but you have to, and you're going to. I won't try ultra performance for FSR, so I'm just going to drop it directly to 720p and keeping all the rest that are already set up, mean FSR performance and frame gen 3 enable. That give us enough headroom to have an average of 38 FPS, having high FPS of 45 and low FPS as low as 18. So we get some stutter and they last almost a second. So if you're on a budget and you absolutely want to play, you can play. Is it playable, enjoyable? It's you to decide. GPU is still pegged at 99%, CPU is in the mid 50s, and we using a whopping 26GB of RAM. But since now we have a little bit of headroom, being at 38 FPS, we can probably switch from performance FSR to FSR balance. We're still keeping frame generation 3 enable, because otherwise we won't be able to get a decent FPS out of this system. And FSR balance give us a little drop in FPS. We're still over 30. We are at 33 FPS average, with still some stutter here and there, but it's playable, I guess, if you are on an extreme budget. We still have a minimum of headroom though, so let's go switch from FSR balance to FSR quality to see how it fares. Remember, we're still at 720p of resolution. You need to keep that in mind if you want to play on an APU. And surprisingly enough, FSR quality, we still get an average of 31 FPS. Average, mean that we sometimes drop in the mid-20s, but we still have an average of over 30. Keep in mind, frame generation 3 is still enabled. And when you start to reach outside of this small village, you almost get an average of 40 FPS. We get about 39 FPS average when you are outside of an encampment or village. So maybe it's okay, since most of the time you're going to play on the outside world, not in encampment, and there's no danger in encampment. So if you have some stutter or lower FPS, I think you should pass. And if you really hate frame generation 3, you can disable it, but I won't recommend it. Doing so will drop your FPS to an average of 18. It's a really stuttery feeling. I won't recommend at all to not have frame generation 3 disable. And yes, I'm still at FSR quality, but even if you think to changing to FSR performance, that won't change much. You're only going to gain about 3 FPS. So instead of 18 FPS, you're going to be at 21 FPS with the FSR performance without frame generation 3 enable. Only thing I can say is this game is not a APU or iGPU friendly. Yes, my APU is quite old. I don't have any AM5 or XE integrated Intel GPU either, but from a budget standpoint of view, this is not good. So if you only have an APU and you absolutely want to play a Stalker 2, it will be 720p, frame generation 3 enable, no choice, and FSR, obviously. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one, and subscribe.